Hello, and welcome to Crosswords, the show where we build bridges out of adjectives. My name is Will, and I'm a songwriter. But since I think most of you know me as a fan of Critical Role, let's talk about that. If you watched the first campaign, you know that Sam Riegel plays a bard called Scanlan Shorthalt. And since I hope what I have to say will be useful to you regardless of whether you watch the show, let's start with the basics. If you're new to D&D, a bard is a type of character you can play that can cast spells, like a wizard or a sorcerer. But rather than having an arcane magical focus or some innate ability, a bard uses the power of music to cast his spells. Now this can be role-played in all sorts of ways, from banging on pots and pans to simply describing how your music is making the other characters and the other NPCs feel. But there is one particular way of playing a bard that I find to be really creatively interesting and really fun. And what Sam Riegel does with Scanlan Shorthalt is fascinating to me as a songwriter. So we're going to talk about that for a bit. What Sam does with his character, and what I've started to do with some of mine, is to take pop songs and rearrange them, Weird Al Yankovic style, to fit whatever narrative is currently going on within the campaign. I'll give you an example from an early episode of Critical Role that I hope won't be too spoilery. In one of the first few episodes, I think episode 3, the party meets a sort of neutral character named Clarota, and they're not really sure whether this character is going to help or hurt the party. So as a gesture of goodwill, Scanlan heals Clarota's wounds with a spell. And he does this by, at the table, singing, to the tune of Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing. When I get that feeling, I want Clarota healing. Now, Sam can pull off ridiculous stunts like that because he's a really good improviser. But I think that normal schmucks like you and me can pull off this kind of musical madness with a couple tips and tricks. If you're looking for a new style of character to play, a creative challenge, or simply to make your friends laugh, a bard is a great character to roll. So let's talk about it. The core of what we're doing here is taking songs we already know and replacing a few words to fit whatever's going on at the table. Now this seems easy enough, but which words? Which songs? Well, mileage for different genres will vary depending on the people you're playing with. At the center of this task is know your audience. If you're playing with a bunch of older folks, your Bruno Mars reference is probably going to go unappreciated. And vice versa. If you're playing with a younger crowd, it's time to put away the Cab Calloway and pull out the Justin Timberlake. So what's the lesson here? Listen to more music. If you listen exclusively to one genre or one artist, you're missing out on a whole world of wonderful music. And fortunately, the internet is making branching out in your musical tastes easier than ever. Spotify, Pandora, and other websites can give you recommendations based on the music you already enjoy. But I'm going to challenge you to go even further. Just like politics and information these days, it's way too easy to get trapped in your own little bubble of music. Algorithms are designed to feed you things that they already know you're going to like. So how do you get out of the feedback loop? Feed it nonsense. Do you like heavy metal? Time to start listening to some Celtic folk music. No, that's too similar. Feed it some underground hip-hop. Oh, you're a hip-hop head already? Time to break out the ska, baby. The more music you listen to and enjoy, the more inspiration you can draw from when you're sitting there at the gaming table. Oh, and music is awesome and you shouldn't limit yourself and all that. I'm going to throw some links below as some touchstones for some various genres. If you're unfamiliar with some of these genres, this will at least get your foot in the door. And maybe you'll find a new favorite band. This gets me to one of my main points that I think I'll touch on again and again in this short series. The more information you have, the more flexible you can be in terms of making up songs on the fly. As I was working on the Hamilton CR mashup musical, some of my friends were joking about rolling a bard that only deals in Hamilton references. And they had some pretty awesome examples, mind you. But if you played with that character enough, eventually you'd run out of musical to reference. So, unless you wanted to start repeating yourself, which is one of the things I'm trying to avoid with this series, you'd have to start referencing other musicals. Or, better yet, other genres. Now before I wrap this up, I would be a bad bard if I didn't give you some freebies. So to tide you over until I can make the next video, here are some freebies that you can use at your D&D table. I'll give you a hint. The word feeling rhymes with healing. Here's one that can be used when healing a female party member. Ooka chaka, ooka, ooka, ooka chaka, ooka, ooka. I can't stop this healing deep inside of me. Girl, you know I realize that you need HP. And one more, which I think we'll come back to as an example multiple times throughout this series. This one can be used when healing a wizard or a sorcerer. Preferably often, because they're pretty squishy. All those crazy things you do when you cast. Ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep casting. Can't stop the healing. So there you go. I found one rhyme for you, and already there's 2 quick, easy songs for a healing word or a cure wounds. And I have no doubt that you clever folks can come up with more. There are a million songs that use the word healing. There are a million songs that use the word healing. There are a million songs that use the word feeling in it. more than a feeling, I got a feeling, see me, feel me, you get the point. That should be more than enough to get the ball rolling. I'm not quite sure what the next video is going to be about, but I hope to start digging into some songwriting techniques. We're definitely going to talk about some slant rhymes, which I like to call sideways rhymes, juxtaposition, things like that. I also want to talk a little bit more about inspiration and preparation versus improvisation. And toward the end of the series, I want to talk about instruments and other ways of role-playing a bard. The scale and short halt approach is a fun one, but it is by no means the only way to roleplay a bard. So we'll talk about alternatives for you less boisterous bards out there. When I was invited to do this short series for Nerdsmith, I really only had a handful of these videos planned out, and I don't want to limit myself to just talking about the D&D bard class. So hopefully, if this goes well, we can figure out what this is together. All I can promise is a dumb joke at the beginning and then some honest, straightforward advice and analysis. And I'd love to hear from you guys, whether you're musicians or RPG players. Feedback, criticism, opinions, advice, all welcome. This video is sponsored by me! The gist of it is, I've made a Patreon account, and now you can subscribe to me. There are some cool perks like annotated song lyrics, early access to works in progress, and if you're quick, you can hop in on the highest tier, which is where I will write you a personalized song of inspiration for your D&D or other RPG character. There are only a few of these available at any given time because I want to make sure that I have enough time to dig in and make those songs good for each person. So, limited supply. But feel free to check out the link and see what's going on my Patreon account. This video is also part of a series I'm doing for Nerdsmith, which is a collaborative network delivering nerdy entertainment. Also known as an excuse to talk about other cool things that our friends are making. And because I'm contractually obligated to, I'm going to tell you guys about some of the other cool podcasts and shows that my friends are working on. We're going to start with my friend Joe, since he wrote me a really nice letter. You may know him as Percy from our Vox Machina musical. Joe has a show called Dear DM, where he sits down with a different DM each episode to discuss, debate, and hopefully answer your D&D related questions. And because I'm nothing if not a ripoff of Sam, I've written an advertisement for Joe's podcast in the style of Sam Riegel. I prepared a short one-man play to demonstrate how Joe's podcast works. Ahem. Dear Joe, I'm a nice DM who's really good to his players, but they never follow the plot I write them. Also, we have to constantly reschedule our game because our stupid barbarian has a stupid album release party in stupid LA. Help! Love, Tom. Don't worry, Tom. I know exactly how to fix all of your problems. Let's start with, and if you want to know more, you're going to have to watch his show.